Hello and welcome to this continuing first look exploring session looking at The Alchemist by Ben Jonson. We are careering into Act 3 as we continue our ongoing mission of asking how do we trim down this text, or what do we do with this text to create its best performance feature. What are the bits we really like? What do we think might go through with the blue pencil? Or for that matter, do you think, hey, let's just put lots of intervals in, start it about, say, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, and just let it be long? Just sometimes that's the way to do it. Yes, just a general note for everyone. That's sort of what we're looking for. We're looking for, editorial decisions. And, what? Sometimes someone says, oh, we won't know until we get to the end what we think we should cut. Don't worry about that. If you turn out you're horribly wrong, you can be horribly wrong. You can revise your opinion. It's fine. Being wrong is basically what we're here for. So that's what we're doing. I'm just topping and tailing this. I'm going to hand over to Eric to run the session. But as we go into Act 3, we have today reading Kastril is
Helen in Suffolk.
Reading Ananias and Dapper is...
Hello, I'm Lynn. I'm in the northwestern United States.
Reading Tribulation and Tragi is...
Sarah Blake in Germany.
Reading Face is...
Connor Robert Brown in London.
Reading Subtle is...
Valentina Vinci, Italian in London.
And reading Dull is...
Helen Good and another one in London.
And so I will now hand you over to the person being the host with the most and reading the stage directions is...
Hi, I'm Eric. I totally know what I'm doing here. Anyway, anyone who knows me will know that's not true. So let's move on. We should probably get started, although I missed the previous session. So, we're just changing it up for variety, I guess, or something. So this is Act 3, Scene 1, I suppose. Enter Tribulation, Wholesome, and Ananias.
These chastisements are common to the saints, and such rebukes we of the separation must bear with willing shoulders, as the trials sent forth to tempt our frailties.
In pure zeal, I do not like the man. He is a heathen, and he speaks the language of Canaan, truly.
I think him a profane person indeed.
He bears the visible mark of the beast on his forehead, and for his stone, it is a work of darkness, and with philosophy blinds the eyes of man.
Good brother, we must bend unto all means that may give furtherance to the holy cause.
Which his cannot. The sanctified cause should have a sanctified course.
Not always necessary. The children of perdition are oft times made instruments even of the greatest works. Beside, we should give somewhat to man's nature. The place he lives in, still about the fire, the fume of metals that intoxicate the brain of man and make him prone to passion. Where have you greater atheists than your cooks, or more profane or more choleric than your glassmen, more anti-Christian than your bell-founders? What makes the devil so devilish, I would ask you? Satan, our common enemy, but his being perpetually about the fire, and boiling brimstone and arsenic? We must give, I say, unto the motives, and the stirrers up of humours in the blood. It may be so, when, as the work is done, the stone is made, this heat of his may turn into a zeal, and stand up for the beauteous discipline against the menstruous cloth and rag of Rome. We must await his calling, and the coming of the good spirit. You did fault to upbraid him with the brethren's blessing of Heidelberg, weighing what we need have to hasten on the work for restoring of the silenced saints, which ne'er will be but by the philosopher's stone. And so a learned elder, one of Scotland, assured me aurum potabile being the only medicine for the civil magistrate to incline him to a feeling of the cause, and must be daily used in the disease.
I have not edified more truly by man, and not since the beautiful light first shone on me, and I am sad my zeal hath so offended.
Let us call on him then.
The motion's good and of the spirit. I will knock first.
And he knocks.
Peace within.
And before the door opens and they enter the building, I'm just trying to figure out. Well, so basically, Ananias and Tribulation are agreeing with each other that this stone, the Philosopher's Stone that Subtle has promised to them, or promised to what's his face, Mammon, is basically terrible in the work of evil, right? Am I? Yeah. Sarah, and then Helen.
Yeah, I mean, Ananias is really not buying it. He's been to the house already in the previous act, and he's met them, and he's like, no, this is a work of evil. They are evil people. Tribulation is, yeah, exactly. Tribulation is saying, well, yeah, okay, he might be doing the work of Satan, but it's all in a good cause, and like the end, he's basically saying the ends justify the means, because they want to lay hands on the stone so that they can do all their saintly doings, and to do that, they have to parley with the devil, and then by the end of it, like, Ananias is like, oh, I'm sorry that my zeal, my sort of my faith, and also my cynicism in this man, has offended you. And so Tribulation, but I think Tribulation is interested enough in what Ananias has said to say, well, let's go and see them and find out. I know he wants to see for himself what's going on.
So it sounds a bit like sort of basically, is it okay to use blood diamonds for charity? Except like not quite the same thing, because the diamonds don't exist at the moment. Helen, then Alan.
Yeah, I agree totally with the way Sarah framed it, except that I got the impression that Tribulation had better lungs than Ananias. He could keep going longer and had more excellent arguments. I don't think. Ananias says, I haven't been so edified since I was first converted. But whether in fact he means that is another matter altogether. I mean, he for me, he may be saying, I can't argue with you. Let's get on with it.
Yeah, it's like we have a plot to deal with. Let's move on. I'm just wondering about the menstruous cloth and rag of home, but I'm not sure I want to go into that.
No, don't.
Yeah, Alan.
Yeah, I mean, the Tribulation doesn't say an awful lot, but uses an awful lot of words to do it. He's not quite as verbose as Epicure Mammon, but he is another one with the wall of words technique. And I think at the end, you've almost got a situation of Ananias, who is his number two, is basically, yes, boss, whatever, boss. Yes, boss, if you say so, boss.
Yeah, it's an interesting scene, sort of.
Have you been into Anabaptism?
No.
Not as much as we did talk about it a little bit yesterday, Helen.
A little is perfectly enough for Anabaptism.
Well, I don't know.
Pass on.
I was thinking about you, actually. We could have done with you yesterday. So if you want to.
Well, I mean, what you fundamentally need to know about it is that however excited you are with the new Protestant doctrines, everybody hated the Anabaptists. They were thoroughly loathed by everybody. If you want to know about them, I think it's the Siege of Munster. It's one of the In Our Time podcasts, and we'll tell you everything you need to know about them.
Mm-hmm. So everything
it's
you
also
really
good.
Don't want to know, but sort of. Well, I mean, if everyone hated them, it must have been for a reason, or not.
Well, they were just useful people. I mean, when you get to the Civil War, they will take practically anybody into the army except Anabaptists and Catholics.
That makes sense. I suppose. Well, my question is the bit about the aurum potabile being the only medicine. Is that sort of like to cure whom exactly? Because I'm guessing like sort of Lynn, any thoughts?
Arum means gold, does it not?
Mm.
Some
So-
sort of liquid gold. I mean, it sounds like some
potable
sort
gold.
The elixir of life, isn't it?
Yeah,
I think.
but yeah. So I think what is being said here, somewhat obscurely, is money changes everything. I think the hint is here that Tribulation is as mercenary as anybody. We want something that changes base metal to gold, so our movement, our church, will have all the money it needs to go make converts or make our life. Yeah, he's Joel
the end
Osteen.
justifies the means.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I guess also
I
because
don't
it's like
think the
it's
UK
for the
has
civil magistrate, so it's kind of to
these-
convince the law that we're okay, we're actually cool people.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know the UK has this type, but we have this in the US. The charismatic preacher who pays himself $50 million a year out of his and the mega church, and so my take is Tribulation is Joel Osteen, which Google or he wants to be. I think probably the Anabaptists are actually, pretty cash strapped at this point. But he wants the Arum, he wants the gold.
Well, yeah, of course. I was gonna say who doesn't, but then I'm like, coffee is more preferable if you have it. We should probably move on to the next scene, Act 3, Scene 2. See what happens. Enter Subtle, who presumably has opened the door, followed by Tribulation and Ananias.
Oh, are you come? 'Twas time. Your 60 minutes were at last thread, you see, and down had gone Furnus Assidiate, Terris Circulators, Lumbeck, Bull's Head, Retort, and Pelican had all been cinders. Wicked Ananias, art thou returned? Nay then, it goes down yet.
Sir, be appeased. He is come to humble himself in spirit and to ask your patience, if too much zeal carried him aside from the true path. Due path.
This doth qualify?
The brethren have no purpose, verily, to give you the least grievance, but are ready to lend their willing hands to any project, the spirit and you direct.
This qualifies more.
And for the orphans' goods, let them be valued, or what is needful else to the holy work, it shall be numbered here by me. The saints throw down their purse before you.
This qualifies most. Why, thus it should be, now you understand. Have I discoursed so unto you of our stone, and of the good that it shall bring your cause? Showed you, beside the main of hiring forces abroad, throwing the Hollanders, your friends from the Indies, to serve you with all their fleet, that even the medicinal use shall make you a faction and party in the realm, as put the case that some great man in state, he have the gout, why, you but send 3 drops of your elixir, you help him straight. There you have made a friend. Another has the palsy or the dropsy. Well, he takes of your incombustible stuff. He's young again. There you have made a friend, a lady that is past the feet of body, though not of mind, and hath her face decayed beyond all cure of paintings, you restore with the oil of talk. There you have made a friend, and all her friends. A lord that is a leper, a knight that has the bone ache, a squire that hath both these, you make them smooth and sound with a bare fricas of your medicine. Still, you increase your friends.
Aye, it is very pregnant.
And then the turn of this lawyer's pewter to plate at Christmas.
Christ tide, I pray you.
Yet, Ananias.
I have done.
Or changing his parcel gilt to mussy gold, you cannot but raise your friends withal to be of power, to pay an army in the field, to buy the king of France out of his realms, of Spain out of his Indies. What can you not do against the lords, spiritual or temporal, that shall upon you?
Verily, 'tis true. We may be temporal lords ourselves, I take it.
You may be anything, and leave off to make long-winded exercises or suck up your ha and hums in a tune, I not deny, but such as are not graced in a state may, for their ends, be adverse in religion, and get a tune to call the flock together. For, to say sooth, a tune doth much with women and other phlegmatic people. It is your bell.
Bells are profane. A tune may be religious.
No warning with you. Then farewell, my patience. Light it shall down. I will not be thus tortured.
I pray you, sir.
All shall perish. I have spoken it.
Oh, let me find grace, sir, in your eyes. The man, he stands corrected. Neither did his zeal, but as yourself, allow a tune somewhere, which now, being toward the stone, we shall not need.
No, nor your holy wizard to win widows to give you legacies, or make zealous wives to rob their husbands for the common cause, nor take the start of bonds broke but one day, and say they were forfeited by Providence. Nor shall you need o'ernight to eat huge meals to celebrate your next day's fast the better. The whiles the brethren and the sisters humbled abate the stiffness of the flesh, nor cast before your hungry hearers scrupulous bones, as whether a Christian may hawk or hunt, or whether matrons of the Holy Assembly may lay their hair out, or wear doublets, or have that idle starch about their linen.
It is indeed an idol.
Mind him not, sir. I do command thee, spirit of zeal, but trouble to peace within him. Pray you, sir, go on.
Nor shall you need to libel against your prelates, and shorten so your ears against the hearing of the next word-on grace, nor of necessity rail against plays to please the alderman whose daily custard you devour, nor lie with zealous rage till you are hoarse not one of these so singular arts, nor call yourselves by name of tribulation, persecution, restraint, long patience, and such like affected by the whole family or wood of you, only for glory and to catch the ear of the disciple.
Truly, sir, they are ways that the godly brethren have invented for propagation of the glorious cause, as very notable means, and whereby also themselves grow soon and profitably famous.
Oh, but the stone, all's idol to it, nothing. The art of angels, nature's miracle, the divine secret that doth fly in clouds from east to west, and whose tradition is not formed from men, but spirits.
I hate traditions. I do not trust them.
Peace!
They are popish all. I will not peace. I will not.
Ananias!
Please the profane to grieve the godly? I may not.
Well, Ananias, thou shalt overcome.
It is an ignorant zeal that haunts him, sir. But truly, else a very faithful brother, a botcher, and a man by revelation that hath a competent knowledge of the truth.
Hath he a competent sum there in the bag to buy the goods within? I am a made guardian, and must, for charity and conscience' sake, now see the most be made for my poor orphan. Though I desire the brethren two good gainers, there they are within. When you have viewed and bought them and ta'en the inventory of what they are ready for projection. There's no more to do. Cast on the medicine, so much silver as there is tin there, too much gold as brass, I'll give it to you in by weight.
But how long time, sir, must the saints expect yet?
Well, let me see. How's the moon now? 8, 9, 10 days hence, he will be silver potted. Then 3 days before he citronize, some 15 days, the magisterium will be perfected.
About the second day of the third week in the 9th month?
Yes, my good Ananias.
What will the orphan's goods arise to, think you?
Some 100 marks, as much as fill the 3 cars unloaded now. You'll make 6 millions of them, but I must have more coals laid in.
How?
Another load, and then we have finished. We must now increase our fire to ignis ardentis. We are past Firmus, Equinus, Balnes, Cineres, and all those Lentus heaths. If the holy purse should with this draught fall low, and that the saints do not need a present sum, I have a trick to melt the pewter. You shall but buy now instantly, and with a tincture make you as good Dutch dollars as any are in Holland.
Can you so?
Aye, and shall bide the 3rd examination.
It will be joyful tidings to the brethren.
But you must carry it secret.
Aye. Oh, but stay! This act of coining, is it lawful?
Lawful. We know no magistrate, or if we did, this is foreign coin.
Oh, it is no coining, sir. It is but casting.
Ha! You distinguish well. Casting of money may be lawful.
Oh, 'tis, sir.
Truly, I take it so.
There is no scruple, sir, to be made of it. Believe Ananias, this case of conscience he's studied in.
I'll make a question of it to the brethren.
The brethren shall approve it lawful, doubt not. Where shall it be done?
Knocking without.
Oh, that will talk anon. There's some to speak with me. Go in, I pray you, and view the parcels. That's the inventory. I'll come to you straight.
Exit Tribulation and Ananias.
Who is it? Face, appear.
And he remains on stage. That scene was fun. It's basically the con artist going like, sort of, what on earth are you? You're back again? Oh, you want more? You want more? Yes. Yeah. Valentina looks confused. Or yeah, or you're agreeing. I can't tell.
No, I was a little confused because obviously I wasn't here for the previous sessions. So as much as the little like compendium of the story that we had before we started the session, I was still a little confused as to what was going on in the beginning. But yeah,
I think you were very convincing, considering they agreed with you through after sort of going, we don't really want your stuff. It's not right. It's not right. Oh, we can do that. Yeah. Helen, then Alan.
I adore Ananias. I mean, he takes exception to someone mentioning Christmas, because of course that includes the word mass, which is popish. So Christtide, happy holidays time. And then, a bell is mentioned. Oh, bells are profane. A tune may be religious. And then starch on your clothing is an idol. Yeah. And then subtle, that my favorite line so far, the subtle, he's talking about the alderman whose daily custard you devour. Gorgeous. And Ananias hates tradition. And he's really, really upset about it. And then the absolute joy when he comes to do a date, he won't use the profane words of the Roman gods. So it's the second day of the third week of the 9th month. Yeah. And I mean, we still have this among the Society of Friends, the Quakers, that they won't use the Roman names. Because
he was sort of, I mean, Tribulation and Ananias were sort of convinced by Latin. That's basically what Subtle did. He was like, he gave them all the arguments and then went, oh yeah, we just need a little more time with these ingredients that you will never have heard of because we're not entirely sure they exist. or at least I'm not entirely sure they exist because I don't know enough Latin to sort of parse that. But yeah, Alan and Lynn.
Yeah, I think part of Subtle's modus operandi is simply to throw so many words at the wall that the mark doesn't have the opportunity to think. My query with this scene, and it's a fun scene in itself, is how far it would actually resonate with a modern audience who don't have Helen's depth of knowledge of, what the Anabaptists were, and one might need to modify it somewhat to make it something with a bit more current resonance.
I don't know. I mean, Christmas. They say Christmas, and he says Christ tide, and I mean, they. You can't necessarily see the deeper argument, but you do understand that he's nitpicking over the smaller words and letting the larger concepts pass him by.
I feel like Sarah wants to intervene at this point for something. Sorry, Lynn.
Yeah, I agree with Helen. I mean, yes, okay, the details of Anabaptistry may be lost on us today, but there are enough wacky religious sects and cults, and there are enough fundamentalists out there who are trying to prize money out of people that I think all this is instantly recognizable to a modern audience because, basically they want friends. And yes, there's the joke that, that Helen pointed out and Lynn pointed out yesterday that everyone hates Anabaptists, so they do actually want friends. But also these friends are basically patrons. They want donors. They want people to give them, shed loads of cash. And so, that's really relatable to today, I would have thought. You only have to have them come in looking like what they are, which is a fundamentalist religious sect, members of a fundamentalist religious sect. And I think people are going to get it.
I mean, cash and custard. So yeah, custard is important. Lynn.
Yeah, I too was going to engage with Helen's observation about Ananias's character. I mean, this is just an example of Jonson's incisiveness as a social satirist. The suspicion among mainstream Anglicans and everybody more traditional than that, and probably even sort of more moderate, Protestants like the Presbyterians, is that the Anabaptists were hypocrites. That they were so concerned with the minutia of religious practice, like we're going to call it Christ tide, and we're not going to say June or August, because they have the names of pagan gods in them. So they really toe the line on those details. Oh, but counterfeiting, that's fine. It doesn't really matter because it's foreign money anyway. So they're really concerned with the form, and when it comes to the substance of being a good person, yeah, they don't care.
I do like though how it starts, like the scene starts off with like the saints are the, what was the line? Something about the saints' purses, which I found quite hilarious because it kind of sets the tone. You know that they've already been convinced, but Tribulation is kind of going, shut up, Ananias. I've got the adults are talking, or something like that. And it's kind of it's a fun scene. So there's a part of me going, what part do we cut? But which, I mean, obviously, because Subtle gives a lot of examples, but I don't know if you would take a blue pencil to this or not, or maybe the previous. Well, I suppose you can ponder that while we keep reading. So, any other thoughts on this scene before we move on? Okay, Act 3, Scene 3 then. Subtle is already on stage and enter Face in his uniform.
How now, good price?
God, Pox, yon costive cheater. never came on.
How then?
I have walked the round till now, no such thing.
And have you quit him?
Quit him, and hell would quit him too. He were a happy slight, would you have me stalked like a mill jade all day for one that will not yield us grains? I know him of old.
Oh, but to have gulled him had been a mastery.
Let him go, black boy, and turn thee, that some fresh news may possess thee, a noble count, a don of Spain, my dear delicious compere, and my party board, who is come hither private for his conscience, and brought munition with him. 6 great slops, bigger than 3 Dutch hoys, beside round trunks furnished with pistolets and pieces of 8. But will straight be here, my rogue, to have thy bath, that is the colour, and to make his battery upon our Dull, our castle, our Creek Point, our Dover Pier, what thou wilt. Where is she? He must prepare perfumes, delicate linen, the bath in chief, a banquet and her wit, for she must milk his epidemis. Where is the doxy?
I'll send her to thee, and but dispatch my brace of little John Leydens, and come again myself.
Are they within there?
Number in the sum?
How much?
100 marks, boy.
Exit subtle.
Why, this is a lucky day. £10 of mammon, 3 of my clerk, 40 of my grocer. List of the brethren, beside reservations and states to come in the window, and my count. My share today will be bought for 40
What?
Enter doll.
What?
pounds. Dainty Dorothy, art thou so near?
Yes. Say, Lord General, how fares our camp?
As with the few that had entrenched themselves safe by their discipline against a world dull, and laughed with those trenches and grew fat with thinking on their booties, dull, brought in daily by their small parties, their dear hour, a doughty dawn is taken with my dole, and thou makest make this ransom what thou wilt, my Downsubel. He shall be brought here fettered with thy fair looks, before he sees thee, and thrown in the down bed, as dark as any dungeon, where thou shalt keep him waking with thy drum, my dole, thy drum, till he be tame as the poor blackbirds were in the great frost, or bees with a bosom, and so hive him in the swanskin coverfield and cambric sheets, till he be work and honey and wax, my little God's gift.
What is he, General?
Excuse me. An Alchemist, a grandee girl. Was not our Dapper here yet?
No.
Sorry, lost the page. Sorry.
Try searching on Grandee.
What was your last line? Sorry.
No. Was not my Dapper here yet? And then I said no.
Yes.
No.
Neither. Sorry. Nor my drugger.
Neither.
A pox on them. They are so long a furnishing, such skin rods would not be seen upon these festival days.
Very subtle.
How now? Have you done?
Done. They are gone. The sum is here in bank, my face. I would we knew another chapman now would buy him outright.
Nab shall go do against. We have the window, the furnished household.
Excellent, well thought on. Pray God he come.
I pray he keep away till our new business be out past.
But, face, how camest thou by this secret dawn?
A spirit brought me intelligence in a paper here, as I was conjuring yonder in my circle, for surely I have my flies abroad. Your bath is famous, subtle by my means, sweet doll. You must go tune your virginal, no losing or the least time. And, do you hear? Good action. Flirt like a flounder, kiss like a scallop, close and tickle him with thy mother tongue. His great venership has not a jot of language, so much that the easier he be cozened, my dolly. He will come here in a hired coach, obscure, and our own coachman, whom I have set as a guide, no creature else.
Knocking without.
Who's that?
Exit door.
Is he not he?
Oh no, not yet this hour.
Enter door.
Who's it?
Dapper, your clerk.
God's will then, Queen of Fairy. On with your tire.
Exit door.
And doctor, with your robes, let's dispatch him for God's sake.
Who'll belong?
I warrant you, take but the cues I give you. I shall be brief enough.
And face goes to the window.
Right. Here are more, able, and when I think the angry boy, the heir, that fain would quarrel.
And the widow?
No, not that I see anyway.
And exit subtle, leaving face on stage, which, so basically, if I'm not mistaken, someone has turned up, and this is going to cause trouble in the next scene. Yeah, I don't, like, it's sort of, I like that they have mini meetings in between, like, sort of, there's plot, and then you get the sort of 3 con artists meeting to sort of recap what's happened and update their briefing reports or something, and then go off and do their thing. Alan.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point. We're pretty well halfway through the play, and I think what's happening is that the various scams are starting to intersect, and this is, I suspect, going to lead to some fun with them trying to juggle things so nobody else figures out what's happening to everybody else in the sea.
Yeah, and
there's also resonances, and I must admit I was getting flashback to Boys' Company plays, because I have a feeling that quite a bit of that speech from face to doll is Boys' Company type material that could be mined for a considerable amount of smut.
Yeah, of course, especially like frick like a flounder, kiss like a scallop. It's kind of like it sounds like the equivalent, the sort of early modern equivalent of dance like a butterfly, sting like a bee or something, except in a different context, obviously. It's I don't know if this sort of I like how they're kind of now trying to balance more plots that they can handle. Obviously, like we're going back to the first person we conned, who is Dapper, and he was the gambler, right? If I'm not mistaken. So it's like we're going back to like sort of, I don't know, the circle has turned and the wheel has turned and we're now back to the beginning. Maybe. So there's Helen.
Yeah, I just wondered if we had a date for this play, because
1610, I think.
Oh, right. So we're at peace with Spain. Yeah, that's no problem then.
Yeah.
So the Spaniard has come with, but there's no there isn't a problem with a Spanish arms dealer turning up with
with money.
Great sloops bigger than Dutch hoys sounds to me to be back to front, but never mind.
Yeah.
And
They're
they've all turned up in it's all turned up in Dover, and they're going to set Doll on him, who's going to keep him so well entertained that he doesn't notice when they steal everything from him.
Well, of course not. That's part of the con. You kind of distract them long enough to sort of take everything. I was just thinking throughout this scene that this play is quite simple. You don't have many sound effects like, the clanging of weapons or like fight scenes, or well, at least not yet. So I was thinking you could easily adapt it to audio, just because like you've got a lot of exits and entrances. That's basically it. You don't really have any. I mean, you can add like sort of atmospheric sounds, but it doesn't seem to be much like going on except knocking on doors and like entering and stuff. Alan and Sarah.
I think I take your point about the lack of sound effects, and a knock would certainly be needed. But I think part of the problem was, and I have a feeling it may have been more in yesterday's session than the previous one, which you were involved with, Eric, is there were quite a number of sequences where you got a group of 3 people on stage, but at a certain point it was fairly clear that 2 of them were talking between themselves, leaving the third one out. And how you get that across in an audio context is more tricky.
Yeah, point taken. But I think Sarah has an answer to that. Or though you're muted. Yeah.
You just lean into the mic and whisper. It's fine. It's not a problem. I would love to do this as an audio play. My thought about it though is that actually there is so much fun to be had with the visuals of all these different marks. You could suggest it in audio, because giving people, obviously everyone has character voices and all of that jazz. But I think that there is something very fun about seeing all this. All these shenanigans actually like on stage, having the visuals. The other thing I just wanted to say, which probably doesn't need saying, but I'm going to say it anyway. It's this play in general, but particularly these bits where you have these short scenes, where you have a mark, and then the mark goes, and then they come together, and then another mark turns up, and then they go into that one. It's all meant to be done at breakneck speed with tons of energy, which obviously we're just reading this through, exploring it for the first time. So that's not something that we can do in this session, but it's worth reiterating that this is like, it's a real high energy piece, this, and even though the speeches are long, they are meant to be delivered with a degree of vim and vigor that kind of keeps it really, this is a play that bounces along. So it's just something to bear in mind when we're thinking about how to adapt it.
Yeah, and I feel like if you cut it, it's sort of like, I mean, there are things that you can sort of trim lightly, but I don't think it would, I don't know. I mean, because a lot of the fun of it is just seeing them try to balance all these cons and not lose track of what they're doing, which, I mean, I'm assuming is the inevitable end of this. I don't know if that will happen, but it seems to be heading that way. And well, also because like there's a part of me going, Doll is going to be disguised as a fairy queen at the moment to sort of present herself to Dapper as Queen of the Fairies, and bless him with luck and so on and so forth. I'm assuming. But it's just kind of like, how many costumes do they have for all this? Is it like they must have had a budget or something, or not? I don't know. It's just like the characters are that dumb. It depends how you want to play it, or how like put on a hat and then it's fun, or a moustache. No, it's maybe infinite phone booths are available. or something. I don't know. It's an interesting idea. In any case, if there are sorry, Helen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the companies were well supplied with costumes.
Well, yeah, I think Robert said this is the Kingsman, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, well, I mean, they will have had costumes acquired and adapted and acquired and put in stock, and they'll have an infinite amount of fancy dress for the con artists to dress up in.
Yeah, true. And also, I don't know how that would work for audio, since I mentioned it earlier. I mean, there's a part of me going, you could probably do it and add like music and stuff, but yeah, I don't know.
No,
There is
no, forget the costumes for audio.
Yeah. Sarah's looking pensive because I know Sarah likes the costume, but yeah. So, and as does Lynn. We should probably move on. Act 3, Scene 4. Enter Dapper.
Oh, sir, you are welcome. The doctor is within and moving for you. I had to have the most ado to win him to do it. He swears you'll be the darling of the dice. He never heard her highness dote till now. Your aunt has given you the most gracious words that can be thought on.
Shall I see her grace?
See her and kiss her too.
Enter Abel Drugger, followed by Kastril.
What? Honest Nab? Hast brought the damask?
No, sir. Here's tobacco.
'Tis well done, Nab. Thou bringest the damask too.
Yes. Here's the gentleman, Captain, Master Kastril, I have brought to see the doctor.
Where's the widow?
Sir, as he likes, his sister, he says, shall come.
Oh, is it so? Good time. Is your name Kastril, sir?
I am the best of the Kastrils. I'd be sorry else. By 1,500 a year. Where's the doctor? My mad tobacco boy here tells me of one that can do things. Has he any skill?
Wherein, sir?
To carry a business, manage a quarrel fairly, on fit terms?
It seems, sir, you are but young about the town. That can make that a question.
Not so young, but I've heard some speech of the angry boys and seen them take tobacco, and in his shop, and I can take it too, and I would fain be one of them, and go down and practice in the country.
Sir, for the duello, the doctor, I assure you, shall inform you to the least shadow of a hair, and shew you an instrument he has of his own making, wherein no sooner shall you make report of any quarrel, but he will take the height on it most instantly, and tell in what degree of safety it lies in, or mortally, and how it may be borne, where in a right line, or half a circle, or may else be cast into an angle blunt, if not acute, unless he will demonstrate, and then rules to give and take the lie by.
Oh, to take it?
Yes, in oblique he will shrew you, or in circle, but never in diameter. The whole town study his theorems and dispute them ordinarily at the Eton academies.
But does he teach living by the wits too?
Anything whatever. He cannot think that subtlety, but he reads it. He made me a captain. I was a stark pimp, just of your standing, before I met with him. It is now not 2 months since. I tell you his method first, he will enter at some ordinary.
No, I'll not come there. You shall pardon me.
For why, sir?
There's gaming there, and tricks.
Why would you be a gallant and not game?
Oh, 'twill spend a man.
Spend you? It will repair you when you are spent. How do they live by their wits there, that have vented 6 times your fortunes?
What, 3,000 a year?
Aye, 40,000.
Are there such?
Aye, sir, and gallants yet. Here's a young gentleman, is born to nothing. 40 marks a year, which I count nothing. He is to be initiated and have a fly of the doctor. He will win you by irresistible luck within the fortnight. enough to buy a barony. They will set him upmost at the groom's porters all the Christmas and for the whole year through at every place where there is play. Present him with their chair, the best attendants, the best drink, sometimes 2 glasses of canary, and pay nothing, the purest linen and the sharpest knife. The partridge next his trencher, and somewhere the dainty bed. In private, with the dainty, you shall have your ordinaries bid for him, and playhouses for a poet, and the master pray him aloud to name what dish he affects, which must be buttered shrimps, and those that drink to not much else will drink to his, as being the goodly president month of the board.
Go on.
Odds my life, do you think it? You shall have a cast commander, and can but get in credit with a glover or a spurrer, and some 2 pair of either's or a forehand. Will my most swift post, dealing but with him, arrive at competent means to keep himself, his punk and naked boy in excellent fashion, and be admired for it?
Will the doctor teach this?
He will do more, sir, when your land is gone, as men of spirit hate to keep earth long, in vacation, when small money is stirring, and ordinary suspended till the term. He'll shew a perspective, where on one side you shall behold the faces and the persons of all sufficient young heirs in town, whose bonds are current for commodity. On the other side, the merchants' forms and others, that without help of any second broker, who would expect to share or trust such parcels. In the third square, the very street and sign where the commodity dwells and does but wait to be delivered, be it pepper, soap, hops, or tobacco, oatmeal, boiled, or cheeses, all which you may so handle to enjoy to your own use and never stand obliged.
Good faith, is he such a fellow?
Why, Nab here knows him, and then for making matches for rich widows, young gentlemen, heirs, the fortunate man. He's sent to far and near all over England to have his counsel and to know their fortunes.
God's will, my sister shall see him.
I tell you, sir, what he did tell me of Nab is a strange thing. By the way, you must not eat cheese. Nab, it breeds melancholy, and that same melancholy breeds worms. But past it, he told me, honest Nab, here was never a tavern, but well I.
Truth, and no more I was not.
And then he was so sick.
Could he tell you that too?
How would I know it?
In truth, we had been a-shooting and had had a piece of fat ram mutton to supper that lay so heavy on my stomach.
And as he has no head to bear any wine, for which with the noise of the fiddlers and care of his shop he dares keep no servants.
My head did so ache.
And he was so fain to be brought home, the doctor told me, and then a good old woman.
Yes, faith! She dwells in Seacoal Lane, did cure me with sodden ale and pellitory of the wall. Cost me but 2pence. I had another sickness was worse than that.
Aye, that was with the grief. Thou tookest for being assessed at 18 pence for the waterwork.
In truth, and it was like to have cost me almost my life.
The hair went off?
Yes, sir, 'twas done for spite.
Nay, so says the doctor.
Pray thee, tobacco boy, go fetch my sister. I'll see this learned boy afore I go, and so shall she.
Sir, he is busy now, but if you have a sister to fetch hither, perhaps my own pains may command her sooner, and he by the time will be free.
I go.
Drugger, she's thine, the damask.
And exit Drugger, and Kastril exited before that. And I'm just wondering what I'm trying to parse the language as we read it, but I really don't get it. I get some of it, and it just goes. The rest sort of goes over my head. It might be the haircut. I don't know. So basically, all this is set up for like Subtle to come in and do stuff, or what's going on? Because I misunderstood some of it, I think. If anyone got that, please help. Helen.
Yeah, I don't understand what's going on, but I take it that both Drugger and Kastril are separate marks.
Yeah, they are.
But he's using his knowledge of Drugger to convince Kastril that he knows everything.
Sarah. Yeah.
Yes, I can fill you in on the plot details of this if you like, but we've
Please.
got a few more lines to go to the end of the scene. Should we maybe just carry on to the end of the scene?
Yeah, sure. Okay. And well, Jugger has just exited, and Space is still talking. Sorry. Yeah.
Subtle and I must wrestle for her. Come on, Master Dapper. You see how I turn clients away, here away, to give your cause dispatch? Have you performed the ceremonies we enjoined of you?
Yes, of the vinegar and the clean shirt.
Tis well, that shirt may do you more worship than you think. Your answer fire, but that she will not shew it to have a sight of you. Have you provided for her grace's servants?
Yes, here are 60 Edward shillings
Good,
and an old Harry sovereign
very good.
and 3 James shillings and an Elizabeth groat, just 20 nobles.
Oh, you are too just. I would you had the other noble in Maris.
I have some Philip and Mary's.
Aye, those same. Our best of all. Where are they? Hark, the doctor.
Dapper and Face are still on stage, which doesn't wait. Did we? Yeah. No. Yeah. So, which doesn't tell us much because people are going to enter after this. As we were saying, so what just what just happened? I mean, okay, so Subtle is about to enter to do stuff. And so basically Face is just wasting time to allow him time to change costume, I'm guessing. Sarah then Alan.
Yes, so going back to the thing of who is Kastril, he, I think, is the brother of the young widow. Who I think that's right. He's definitely something to do with that plot. But I'm fairly certain he's the brother of the young widow who is like just being very obviously, like he doesn't really want his sister to marry an apothecary, but the apothecary has said to him, but I can introduce you to an alchemist who is amazing and has all the knowledge, and you know he's creating the philosopher's stone, blah blah blah. And so that's what was going on there. Like Drugger was in on that con because Drugger is being conned himself, but he's also in on the con that he thinks they're playing to try and get Kastril to agree to his sister marrying Drugger, if that makes sense.
Because
Yes.
nothing could possibly go wrong. Lynn, sorry.
And
Alan,
Dapper is
then
in the room this whole time. Like
Yeah.
it's kind of a long exchange. Like, what is he doing?
probably fiddling with his purse.
And the cons are fairly independent in this case because Dapper is after some kind of magic charm to help him win at gambling, and they've told him that unbeknownst to him, his aunt is the queen of the fairies, so he's going to meet her and she's going to like bless him somehow and make him lucky. So he's not a philosopher's stone mark, but like, what is he doing this whole yeah.
Sarah then Alan?
I mean, there's like the last line that he has is like, oh, it's about oh, shall I see her grace, i.e. the queen of the fairies, see her and kiss her too. So it could be that he goes off there, he goes off to find the queen of the fairies, or it could be that, like, you know, Face sits him down in a chair and, puts a bag over his head or something. It's like, you need to prepare, you need to get ready to meet the Queen of the Fairies, or, stuffs him into a cupboard or makes him stand in the corner with holding a bell over his head or something. I mean, he's preparing himself to see the Queen of the Fairies. So it could be that he's actually on stage just doing something ridiculous this whole time, or it could be that he goes off.
Yeah. Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I think what Face is doing here is basically improvising at speed to try and avoid a premature collision between various people and trying to keep 18 balls in the air and someone's thrown a knife into the mix.
Yeah.
So the stakes are increasing, I think, at this stage.
Yeah. I think that maybe Dapper is probably like preening himself and maybe like spraying some, like, getting a breath mint or something. I don't know. Helen?
Yeah. Face's line to Drugger when talking about Drugger being ill, and he almost died of his water rates being put up to 18 pence, which I think is absolutely glorious. But then when Dapper comes back into the thing, they're talking about various types of coinage.
Yeah.
And obviously, what we don't realize now is that a lot of this coinage did vary in value. So a shilling from Philip and Mary would be worth a lot less than an Elizabethan shilling because of the debasement of the coinage. So they would be, a lot of them, they had a lot of little scales for weighing the various types.
But then you would have like I'm assuming that like a Philip shilling from Philip's time and a shilling from like James' time or like Edward's time would be not just they might look the same. I don't know how would they.
Yes,
tell
but the Edward shillings were not very good. The Philip and Mary shillings were even worse. They had a massive recoinage in the beginning of Elizabeth's reign. And those after the first few years of Elizabeth's reign, those coins were worth a lot more than 60 of Edward shillings.
Oh, okay, so that's the joke. Okay, in this scene, at least.
Well, I don't know that it's a joke. It's just that one of the things you had to do when handing out money was to decide actually what the money was worth.
Oh, okay, cool. That sounds fascinating and also confusing, but I guess
and impossible for a modern audience.
Yeah,
sadly.
Alan, then Lynn.
Yeah, and the Henry sovereigns were proverbially bad, which was why it was known as Old Copper Nose, because the metal was so adulterated that as soon as the coin acquired any wear, the gold rubbed off the copper. So Henry appeared on many of the coins with a red nose, or what appeared to be a red nose.
So not from drinking. Lynn, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah, and the gag, I guess here, although I don't know about the coinage in James's reign, is that the only thing he has from the Elizabethan reign is a groat. It's like this very small denomination coin, and all the higher denomination coins are from periods when they were minting coins with a significant amount of base metal in them. So that's the gag. I've got a groat from Elizabeth.
And an old Harry sovereign. What I find amusing also is that they ask him whether have you performed the ceremonies wherein joined you? Yes, of the vinegar and the clean shirt. And that was something, I mean, okay, he has a clean shirt, fine, but then the vinegar was basically him putting vinegar, I think it was vinegar in the nose, eyes, and ears, or nose and ears, and sort of going buzz, 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 and hum, 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 just to clear his throat, or something like that. It was, something ridiculous.
A cleansing ritual.
Yes,
there you
of
go.
course. Probably for good breath or something. I don't know, maybe. But maybe that's what he's doing off while he's waiting or something. I don't know. Just to make sure that, like, I mean, because obviously he's on stage, so they're probably talking apart. Any other thoughts? Sort of, or shall we move on to the last scene of this of this session and see what happens, whether it blows up?
Let's go.
Okay, so Dapper and Face are on stage, and Act 3, Scene 5, we have Subtle entering, disguised like a priest of fairy, with a stripe of cloth, or a strip of cloth, I'm guessing, I don't know. Yeah.
Is yet her gracious cousin come?
Is he come?
And is he fasting?
Yes.
And hath cried hum?
Thrice, you must answer.
Thrice.
And as oft buzz?
If you have say,
I have.
then... Sorry.
Well, then to her cuz, hoping that he hath vinegared his senses as he was bid, the fairy queen dispenses by me this robe, the petticoat of fortune, which that he straight put on, she doth importune. And though to fortune near be her petticoat, yet nearer is her smock, the queen doth note, and therefore even of that piece she has sent, which being a child to wrap him in was rent, and praise him for a scarf, he now will wear it with as much love as then her grace did tear it about his eyes,
They blind him with a rag.
to show he's fortunate, and trusting unto her to make his state, he'll throw away all worldly pelf about him, which that he will perform she doth not doubt him.
She need not doubt him, sir. Alas, he has nothing but what he will part with as willingly, upon her grace's word. Throw away your purse, as she would ask it, handkerchiefs and all.
And he throws away everything as they bid him.
She cannot bid that thing, but he'll obey. And if you have a ring about you, cast it off, or a silver seal at your wrist. Her grace will send her fairies here to search you. Therefore, deal directly with her highness. If they find that you conceal a mite, you are undone.
Truly, there's all.
All what?
My money, truly.
Keep nothing that is transitory about you. Bid Doll play music.
Doll plays on the citron within.
Look, the elves are come to pinch you. If you tell not truth, advise you.
They pinch him.
I have a paper with a sporile in it.
Aye, they knew it, they say.
He has more yet.
Tie. In the other pocket.
They must pinch him, or he will never confess, they say.
They pinch him again.
Oh!
Nay, pray you, hold. He is in her grace's nephew. Tie. What care you? Good faith, you shall care. Deal plainly, sir, and shame the fairies. True, you are innocent.
By this good light, I have nothing.
Tie, too tie. He does equivocate, she says. Tie, and swears by the light when he's blinded.
By this good dark, I have nothing but a half crown of gold about my wrist that my love gave me, and a leaden heart I wore since she forsook me.
Thought it was something, and yet you incur your aunt's displeasure for these trifles. Come, I had rather you had thrown away 20 crowns.
And he takes it off.
You may wear your leaden heart still. How now?
Entered dull hastily, sorry.
What news, Doll?
Yonder's your knight, Sir Mammon.
Oh, Slid. We never thought of him till now. Where is he?
Here, hard by. He's at the door.
And you are not ready now. Doll, get his suit.
Exit dull.
He must not be sent back.
Oh, by my no means. What shall we do with this same puffin here? Now he's on the spit.
Why, lay him back a while with some device.
Enter dull with faces clothes.
Tie, would Grace speak with me? I come. Help, Doll.
Knocking without.
Who's there? Sir Epicure, my master's in the way. Please you to walk 3 or 4 turns. But he'll feel his back and turned, and I am for you. Quickly, Doll.
Your Grace commends her kindly to you, Master Dapper.
I long to see her, Grace.
She now is set at dinner in her bed, and she has sent you from her own private trencher a dead mouse and a piece of gingerbread to be merry withal, and stay your stomach, lest you faint with fasting. Yet, if you could hold out till she saw you, she says it would be better for you.
Sir, he shall hold out, and 'twere this 2 hours for her highness, I can assure you that. He will not lose all we have done.
He must not see nor speak to anybody till then.
For that will put, sir, a stay in a mouth.
Of what?
Of gingerbread. Make you fit. He that hath pleased her grace thus far shall not now trifle for a little. Gape, sir, and let him fit you.
They thrust a gag of gingerbread in his mouth. I mean, come on, it must be tasty, right?
Maybe it's in a cloth.
Yeah.
Where shall we now bestow him?
In the privy.
Oh, come along, sir. I must now show you Fortune's privy lodgings.
Are they perfumed and his bath ready?
All. Only the fumigations are somewhat strong.
Sir Epicure, I am yours, sir, by and by.
And they exit with Dapper, presumably to take him to the bathroom where it probably stinks. Yeah. That I did not expect it to end so abruptly. I feel like this is because it seems like most of the acts are defined by, and like the scenes are just defined by entrances and exits rather than any like substantial action happening, or themes. So it just feels like, this is just getting funnier by the. It's about to unravel, and yeah. We kind of have to stop in the middle of unraveling, unfortunately, because we're only due to do 1 act at a time.
We have a message from the boss.
We have permission to read on.
Well, just to say, there is no good place to stop at this point. Act 3 does run into Act 4, so you could read on and find a point to stop, but there isn't really one that exists. So if you want to read on and find out a little bit more, you can, but you'll have to find a point where you just randomly stop.
Yeah, but a gag of gingerbread. I mean, come on.
It's to hand.
Yeah.
Anyway, feel free to have a little discussion and see if you want to do another 10 minutes after you see where you are, if you know where you are. Do you know where you are? I don't know where you are.
I don't know either.
Are you planning next week to do 2 sessions or 1?
Oh, or it will still balance into 2 sessions, even if you read on for another 10 minutes.
Okay.
So you won't finish the next scene. This is the problem. It's a certain distidiness, and even if you finish the next scene, it still runs into the scene after that. There are no meaningful places to stop. This act break is as good a place as any, but you can read on if you feel like it. Anyway, see where you go with the chat.
Yeah. Yeah, basically all the cons are converging. at least most of them. Dapper is waiting to meet the Queen of the Fairies, and Drugger is. What was that Drugger doing? I can't remember. I lost track of that plot. Alan?
Yeah, I mean, I think what we've got is a situation of it's almost reminiscent of a 1960s farce. All of the bits are beginning to come together and collapses are imminent. With people bumping into each other on the way in and out of wardrobes or whatever.
Yeah.
And we've had Dapper here being sort of stuffed into the privy, effectively.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite so literally, but it does seem to be, the comedy seems to be getting a tad broader.
Yeah. Yeah, but like they've spent 2.5 acts or more setting all this up, and now it's kind of like finally coming to fruition, the moment of like and yeah, I'm assuming it's going to take another 2.5 acts to sort of unwind.
It's only 2 acts, it's 4 and 5.
Yeah, but I mean, like, sort of, it's going to take like the rest of Act 4 and 5 to unravel and see what happens. I'm curious now, but obviously, if it might be too long. Yeah. I guess it's also important for them to keep track of who's in charge of which con, because Doll has her cons, Face has his cons, and Subtle has his own cons. So it's kind of like, yeah. Helen.
Doll's going to be quite busy hopping from bed to bed.
Isn't she?
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, part of the time she's going to be a courtesan, and part of the time she's going to be Queen of the Fairies. But
and
she's
also, yeah.
She is going to be busy because she did very little except say, hurry, in that act. She just kept popping on and saying, oh God, someone else is at the door.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, one plot less, and they could probably have coped, but they've bitten off just that little bit more than they can chew.
Yeah, so we've got Dapper, Drugger, Mammon, and the
Tribulation and Ananias.
Yeah.
4.
But then they promised the same object / thing.
Yeah, but no, there's another one as well, because there's the widow's brother.
Oh, right, which involves Drugger, but then Kastril is a new.
Yeah, I mean, he's they've got to keep him happy too.
Yeah, and also the Don who they want to steal everything from, the Spanish. Sorry, I'm just amused by that Valentina's message in the chat going, I'm so confused. I mean, I would be too. I am confused also. I'm almost eternally confused, but I think that's just me.
The Spanish arms dealer who landed at Dover is just one more. I mean, the problem is that, like most villains, they're greedy.
Yeah. And sort of, it's kind of, yeah.
But I mean, it is a French farce, isn't it? I mean, nowadays we would think of it as having, there's a vicar who's lost his trousers for an impeccable reason, totally unconnected with anything else, but is causing maximum embarrassment all round.
Yeah.
But this is a farce, or is fast turning into one.
Yeah, and it's quickly turning into a farce with fairies as well. So fairies, nothing can possibly go wrong. And any thoughts on this scene, and then we can expand into final thoughts. Okay, any final thoughts about what we've read so far, including Act 2? Yeah, I don't know what Act 1. Because I feel like a lot of this business is like you could extract a lot of these sketches and actually use them for, like, I don't know, what's called physical comedy workshops and stuff. but I don't know how well that would work without the rest of the play. Helen.
Yeah, I know this play a bit. I mean, I have read it before, but it's a lot better than I remember it.
I feel like this is actually where we should start the play, because the rest is set up. So if as long as you
Yeah.
establish that there are however many cons going on.
So
You could-
so what you're saying is all the cuts should be in the first 2 acts.
I don't know. I mean,
it's
wasn't
got to
here
be
for Act
cut.
2, so yeah.
But if you cut it in the setup, because it's very difficult to cut the farcical elements,
Yeah, true.
which is what we tend to be moving into.
Mhm. Lynn, any thoughts? I think you were here for most of this. So.
Oh yeah, yeah, I was sort of hoping at the beginning that you could just cut a whole subplot, cut Drugger or conflate Drugger and Dapper, and I'm not sure now that that's mechanically possible. So yeah, this is going to be really an editing challenge because it's about twice as long as it should be. Yeah, I was just looking at a Word document of another early modern play which runs to just about 2 hours, and it's 15,000 words, and this is 29,937 30,000 words. So it's a, even if your audience is going to tolerate a little bit longer running time, say 2.5, you've got a lot of pruning to do. So that's a job.
Yeah, but then I feel like you can't really put a break in here either, because if you will forget, even if it takes 10 minutes, even if it's a 15-minute break. Rob, should I hand over back to you?
Yeah, just in terms of timing, so a 15,000 word play can last 2 hours. It can also last 90 minutes. It depends on the nature of the play. This play moves fast, dialogue-wise. So actually, I think we need to cut a third. If you keep the dialogue moving at pace. So the maths there, it may not be as bad as trying to cut 50% of the text. We're maybe only looking at about 30-40% of the text.
Yeah.
But yeah, so those mathematics are not absolutes, because sometimes you hit a play and go, this is going to take forever, and you go, hang on, I've totally mistimed my exploring session schedule, because we've got so much time to spare. Anyway, sorry.
But also getting it down to size is a challenge, and placing the interval is also a challenge.
Yeah,
I think we found an interval point yesterday, didn't we?
Okay.
Yeah, just before the end of Act 2, I think it was.
But it might be a bit early in the action. Now, you can break. Farces have a tradition sometimes of reaching to a farcical moment, freeze frame blackout, and then picking the action directly up from that moment. So that might be a solution if we are mid-flow, but we hit a massive laugh moment, that you could actually just slam the brakes down, rather than look for, here's the neat end of a scene.
Well, yeah, that's what I think, though. That's what a lot of the entrances and exits do, because you've got a lot of usually it's a mark coming in. So I assume that's what you could do with the between Act 3 and 4. You could sort of totally do that with just slam the brakes at the end of Act 3, where they start to converge or something. But I think my suggestion from the first day, where you could, or the first day of this exploring session series, where you could elide Dapper and all those, because it seemed to be certain characters could easily double. You can't do that if they're all on stage at the same time, I think. So, yeah, Helen, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just thinking that one of the things that is slightly dangerous in putting the interval too early is that if you put the interval before the fun, people may very well decide not to come back. If it's all set up you've really got to be invested. You've got to give them a hint that things are going to be fun in the second half.
Yeah, I agree. It is a tough one. Connor, any thoughts since you have been quite quiet on this front?
Yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying it a bit more today, so I just want to kind of see how it all starts tying up and kind of what mess we're going to be left with in terms of all the cons coming together at once. But yeah, it was quite. I just got this image of like these different characters in my head now, really developing. It's quite nice. Like we're talking about the evangelical priest, kind of fake tan, blonde wig, kind of. I think you could really have fun with these characters, these Marks, especially make them grotesquely modern. I really want the young bride to be a TikToking trad wife. That's what I think she's going to be.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean,
yeah, or cottage core kind of thing.
oh,
Yeah.
God.
So exactly. So I think there is definite room for visual reference, which is going to be so important to making it really make sense, but then you can really play with that and just let it kind of move with the pace with the language. But yeah, I think it's when we're talking earlier about radio play, I think we definitely need to actually see this and see these characters because
Yeah.
I think it's going to be quite fun in the next couple of days.
Well, I think also because like Rob was talking about how like in the previous, I was going to say in the previous session I hosted that I recall because I wasn't here last time. You was talking about how this has a quite an extensive modern performance history. So it's not that it can't be done. It just depends on how you want to do it, I guess. Sarah, have you popped in to add your final thought?
I just think this is really easy to stage, honestly. I mean, it's technical in that there is a lot of business. So, you need a lot of costume, you need a lot of props, you need a space that's got decent entrances and exits that people can like hide behind and pop out from behind and all that kind of stuff. But honestly, it just kind of, I think beyond that, it just kind of runs itself, Yes, it's long, but actually, as Rob said, it's not actually as long as it appears to be because it goes lickety spit when it's actually in performance. And yeah, you can make cuts, but they're easy to do. Again, Rob mentioned this yesterday. When the same joke is repeated 5 times over, it's just really easy to keep the 1 or 2 or even 3 that you want and excise the rest. You don't really, it's not difficult to do. I mean, it's just a very, very funny, slick play. It's a great play for actors because there's so many brilliant characters, and I think it's actually really easy to stage. And I mean, I'm aware that I said earlier that obviously if you did it as audio, you would lose all the visual gags, which is true. But I think you could also stage it as audio because it's kind of oven ready. This play, it's so the characterization is so deft and it's just very, very funny. Sadly, I am not going to be here next week to do the end, which I am very sad about. But yeah, it's going to be a hoot, I think.
I think Valentina had something to say.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to build on Sarah's point because, like, obviously, just coming in for one session is quite confusing in terms of plot. But I think if you make the characters, the various Marks, really, really characterize an individual, it's quite fun to follow. Like you could follow it even now. It's just that like the names are similar, and like I don't necessarily remember each backstory. But all I can think about for this in audio is John Finnemore's kind of like style, where like the characters are incredibly characterized and incredibly funny, and I think that would work really, really well for this.
Well, yes, that's all I have to say. Yeah, and anyone else with final thought to add to this aside from Rob, shall I hand back to you then?
Yes, certainly. Do you have any final thoughts, or have you thought it out?
I've just been enjoying some of the lines because, like "Furk like a flounder, kiss like a scallop" sounds quite fun. And then you've got other stuff like "Look, the elves are here to pinch you." I do like the sort of irony of that, where it's kind of he's blindfolded, so obviously he can't see the elves who are there to pinch him. And yeah, there are some good lines like "What shall we do with this puffin?" Now he's on this. No, wait, what was it? "What shall we do with this same puffin here? Now he's on the spit." Like, that's not. It's quite like Jonson has some great lines. That's you can't cut them all because they're fun.
Yes, right. I'm not going to go too much into the text itself. I think we've covered all the bases. But I just want to briefly talk about. I think someone said it's been mentioned a couple of times across. How stupid are these people? I'd like to point out that some of this is based on a true story. So I don't know if this has come up in the session, but Dapper is based on at least one, maybe several individuals who were conned a few years prior to this play. So there was at least one victim was Thomas Rogers, but I think there are a few more. And I don't know if these are the same cases or slightly different cases, but there's a John and Alice West who they were known for their common cousonages, and a new form for which the strangeness and variety they could hardly be traced. They brought their victim into a vault where they showed him two attired like the king and the queen of the fairies, and by them little elves and goblins, and in the same place an infinite company of bags, and upon them written, this is for his wife, but could not let them touch anything, which gave him some encouragement, but to his almost despairing hope. At length, and they did a similar thing with the maid, apparently. King and the queen of the fairies, and they said they'll give them hundreds of pounds, and there'll all be sorts of things. And for these services of introducing them to the fairies, I think they only extracted about £4 out of them. I mean, obviously £4 was worth quite a lot more then. But eventually they got somewhat caught and somewhat whipped for their crimes. But it seems like this happened more than once. As well, so it's not just I haven't been able to properly nail down all of the various different stories, but the idea of promising access to fairyland does seem to be a thing. So it's interesting. I don't know if there are modern analogues that quite land in the same way, but I am delighted by the idea that this is all sort of true.
Well, there is that thing of like getting emails from a certain person who asks you to, put money in their account, or like sort of hackers.
Oh, yes, Nigerians who've got over-invoiced concrete or something, which has all arrived, and they need to get rid of 5 million in a hurry.
Yeah, can they please just pop it into your bank account?
Yes,
they're so nice. I mean,
and you can keep 3 of them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sarah.
Yes, when I was a student, I had a student job in a new age shop in Covent Garden, and I can think of all kinds of parallels that you could, if you wanted to do a modern production, I can think of all kinds of parallels that you could use for this, because the stories that I used to hear from my customers, if people want to believe, it's very easy to make them believe, because they're kind of, if they want to believe, if they're desperate to believe in something, they're halfway there anyway. They're susceptible. And we used to sell all kinds of crap in this shop, honestly. The guy who owned the shop, I'm sure he was making money hand over fist, and he wasn't breaking the law at all, but he was just selling all kinds of stuff that people thought was genuinely going to make their lives better and was genuinely going to give them a spiritual connection to whatever you want to call it, pagan gods or Egyptian gods or the universe, or whatever their individual name for it was. So like, I don't think it's that hard to find a modern equivalent for this. And if you had subtle setting himself up as like a new age guru. You know, if you wanted to modernize the play in that way, I think it would work perfectly.
There are so many other examples I'd like to give, but I don't want to get sued. So all that remains, therefore, is to close this session. Thank all these wonderful readers for being wonderful. You too can join us. We hold these sessions several times a week, and there's always sign-up forms on our website, beyondshakespeare.org. Links are in the show description. But all that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, everybody, and goodbye. I would do a quote, but Eric did them all earlier.